Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch. Brought to you by, interestingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everyone. Tonight is Thursday, July 16th, 2026. This is live show 1344. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out it's super casual. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop role-playing game news. And then I'll usually pontificate about a topic, which I will be doing tonight. But, of course, I should also point out we're not engaged in rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination. Just hanging out, having some fun. I will also mention, when you're not watching videos here on the channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are never going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And then, of course, because this is a live show, there is chat available. Now, of course, you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least an hour before you can take part in chat. It's pretty much how we keep the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you check off that box and you want to say howdy, maybe get a question, comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my absolute best to respond. First out the gate tonight is Semper Buffo. The Madman, good friend of the show, is with us tonight as well. He happens to be one of our chat moderators. Kevin King is here, as is Keith Thulhu and Kathy Evans. And we might have the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D., another of our chat moderators, lurking in the shadows. It is a possibility. So howdy, everybody. Nice to be back once again. There was no show last night. We had my best friend Elliot's brother's service yesterday, so I did not do a show. Wasn't really in the mood to do a show. But once again, want to thank everybody out there for their condolences, for not necessarily, it doesn't have to be for me, but for Elliot and his family. It was greatly appreciated. So I see Miss Sarah D is with us tonight. Might be a little quieter evening in chat than usual. I think we might have folks tuning in to see what the President of the United States is talking about tonight. And again, we might have a few more people hanging out in chat who don't want to deal with that tonight. I don't know. Well, one thing I do know is we're going to dive on into the news because RPG Ramblings is in the midst of a successful Kickstarter to fund issue 11 of Gary's Appendix. I've got the latest. We're back, and this time we're going green. Gary's Appendix issue 11 is the Goblin issue. 11 issues in, and they've realized they've covered dragons, dungeons, giants, and devils. But goblins? The monster sitting in room 1 of every introductory adventure? The creature every player has sleep spelled to death 100 times? Well, those have been overlooked. So issue 11 fixes that. 7 articles crack open goblindom from every angle. Folklore, ecology, deity, tribe, body horror, and enough random tables to keep your players from ever assuming they know what a goblin is again. Shannon Epstein returns to dig into the fairy goblin, not the Tolkien knockoff in your old school essentials book, but the strange, chaotic, mischievous creatures of European folklore that inspired it. Zach Goins contributes 3 articles in a single issue, which might be a record, or at least probably a record for Gary's appendix. And of course, they've got a goblin god with his own spell list, including a first-level cleric spell called Create Piss and Shit. I'm not lying. It's true. This is Gary's appendix at full throttle. The project is fully funded. You can reserve a copy of issue 11 in print and PDF for a $19 pledge. If you want to just reserve the PDF, you can do so for a $5 pledge through July 30th. The expected turnaround on this is pretty quick, so expected fulfillment is in October. Very cool. Very nice. So let's see. A few other people joining us tonight. We've got our good friend, Agile Monk, and Histio's with us, pointing out that they're still not getting their emails through to me regarding the sale. The only thing I can ask is, are you sure you're sending it to the correct email address? Otherwise, I believe Histio's on, I think you're on our Discord server. Just shoot me a private message there. So there you go. Agile Monk says, best survival guide for Gen Con is not to go. Well, I say this with complete love, Agile Monk, fuck you. I love Gen Con. Don't go to Gen Con. Why I oughta. Matthew Blackwell is popping on into chat tonight. So Agile Monk says they've been there, done that for the t-shirt and the con crud. Yeah, well, tonight I am going to provide you, well, all of you, not just Agile Monk, with my survival guide for Gen Con. It's the 2026 edition. I'm going to share at least 10 tips for you to have a better Gen Con and to enjoy yourself and make sure that people around you are also enjoying themselves. Zarquan is with us tonight as well. Next up, landing in stores at the end of the month is Impossible Magic for Pathfinder. Here's the lowdown from Paizo Inc. The perfect spell can solve just about any problem. From simple cantrips to reality warping magic, this new rulebook contains a plethora of options for any adventurer who wants to delve into the unknown and unlock their true magical potential. Within the confines of these pages lie the magnificent spellcraft of 4 wonderfully magical and unique classes. Strike with both spell and blade as a magus, command an army of the undead as a necromancer, scribe unique magic onto enemies and allies alike as a runesmith, fight alongside a powerful magical companion as a summoner. You'll also find over 240 spells that can be cast for both mischief and wonder, new impossible spells so impactful that they scar the soul. Several fantastical archetypes that will bring a magical twist to any table. New arcane schools derived from the heart of the impossible lands themselves, and wondrous magical items that will allow even the most mundane of characters to experience the power of magic. All of this is made manifest before you with Impossible Magic. I think they said Impossible Magic enough times. The 245-page, I take that back, it's 255 pages. It is a hardcover. It's arriving in stores on July 30th, so it is a Gen Con release. And it carries an MSRP of $69.99. I do not see a PDF yet. I would think, I'm not positive, I don't think you're going to get that core book PDF pricing where they usually do like $14.99, something like that. I think there's probably more along the lines of $29.99. I'll say $39.99 when they send that along in PDF. And yes, there is something in the news about Paizo Inc. We'll chat a little bit about once I wrap up our regularly scheduled news. Agile Monk with a super chat for $4.99 says, Jeff, you know I said that to get a response. You did not disappoint, my friend. Of course not. You're just baiting me. Agile Monk says Gen Con's pretty amazing in all. We'll in all seriousness, we'll discuss. I mean, there's things that aren't perfect about Gen Con, obviously enough. But, every convention is going to be a little bit different. So anyway, the Tabletop Scholar is with us tonight. Let's see. I think I've said hello to everyone. Matthew Blackwell says they're not a big fan of Paizo art. It looks too cartoonish for their tastes. Tabletop Scholar says, bad year for Paizo and only half over. We'll talk about something else, like I said, once the news is over, because I think the announcement that Paizo Inc. made, I want to say it was yesterday, might be a little more to it than what's being let on. So we'll talk about that in just a bit. But yes, Impossible Magic for Pathfinder lands in stores on July 30th. On our next news piece, SoulMuppet Publishing is offering 2 money-saving bundle of holding deals, which feature the Orbital Blues role-playing game. I talked about the first on Tuesday. It's Dish the Deets on the 2nd. Watch it, Outlaw! This Orbital Blues Afterburn bundle is the second of 2 offers in progress, featuring, anybody care to guess? Orbital Blues, the space western tabletop role-playing game from SoulMuppet Publishing. If you're new to this retro future game of interstellar outlaws scrounging a living across the frontier galaxy, first get the core rulebook in the revived Orbital Blues bundle, which is currently in progress. Then come back for this new companion offer with recent supplements, mini scenarios, a solo adventure, and the game's first major source book. For just $9.95, you'll get all 3 titles in this offer's Afterburn collection, which has a retail value of $45, as DRM-free PDFs, including the Afterburn source book, the scenario anthology Rogue Anthems, and the solo adventure of The Wanderer. Oh, I'm the Wanderer, the Wanderer. I wander round and round and round and round and... Oh, damn it. And I'm telling you, I caught another file that was wrong in here a little while back. How did this slip past me? Damn them. All right, I think I got rid of it. Anywho. So also effectively a bonus, you'll also include 4 free quick start rule sets for recent and forthcoming Soul Muppet RPGs, Doom Spiral, Mad as Hell, Paint the Town Red, and the Myth. Actually, you know what? That file was correct. It just caught me. I was like, wait a second, what the hell's that doing there? No, it was right. It belonged there. Okay. And there's also the Mythic Greek Fantasy Atropos, which is launching soon on Kickstarter. So keep in mind, if you don't already have the core rulebook, make sure you go check out the other offer and then come back and grab this. These savings will run through July 29th. Yes. Kind of cool. Like I said, when I talked about the other bundle on Tuesday. I have not had an opportunity to dive into Orbital Blues, but Sammy did a review. I think it was Sammy did a review, and I liked it. Thought it's pretty cool. So very nice. On our next news piece, Legends of Akaroth, Songs of a Lost Age has landed in PDF for Crossed Paths Press. Here's what I know. Legends of Akaroth is an epic Japanese role-playing game-inspired adventure filled with nostalgia and hopeful fantasy. Picture the moment your hero's journey begins, not with a whisper, but with a call to adventure that echoes through your very soul. In the realm of Akaroth, where the light once served as humanity's beacon, but now burns with untamed ferocity, you stand ready to forge your legend. Begin your adventure with a curious heart and a steady hand, and leave your mark on the lively country of Urwick. Journey through a world filled with ruins, shrines, and monsters. Experience epic adventures and become the hero this realm needs. The game is built to how you want to play. Venture alone with guided prompts and structured oracles. Share a duet story with a partner. Gather a full table of friends for a traditional campaign. This system supports each mode intentionally with no compromises and no need for a game master, unless you want one. However you choose to journey through the region of Urwick, the world responds to you. This is a love letter to the Super Nintendo era. Legends of Akaroth captures the hearts of classic JRPGs in the form of a tabletop game. With meaningful combat, dramatic limit breaks, and a world that feels alive and waiting, this will have you embracing the nostalgia of these older games. Inside, you'll find 16 kin, 12 classes, 48 jobs, and even more ways to make your adventure perfectly yours. Over 500 event prompts with over 1,000 outcome prompts for a gaming experience that brings you something new every time you play, whether that's solo or in a group. Pick from 6 different aspects of magic and easily customize your spells on the fly to create truly unique spells every time. There's the brand new Waymate system, which means players can turn their character into a waymate and still take part when they can't make a session, then swap them back to being a player character to continue playing. Base building, pets, farming, and fishing rules introduce a completely new way to play, perfect for fans of cozy games. Limit breaks and melody systems turn desperation into spectacle, just like your favorite classic console RPGs. Custom monster builders allow you to create brand new creature encounters for every scene. You'll use quick resolution with 6-sided dice for character actions and single resolution damage rolls using a full set of standard dice and so much more. The 347-page PDF is available right now over at DriveThruRPG for $24.45. So if you are a big fan of those early years of the Japanese role-playing games, this might be something that you want to take a peek at. Plus, it's solo, duet, without a GM, with a GM. Pretty nice. All right, our final news piece. Following a successful crowdfunding run, Reaper Miniatures has released the Dungeon Dwellers role-playing game. And I've got the scoop on the player's guide. Dungeon Dwellers role-playing game, DDRPG, is built on the foundation of the fantasy role-playing games we all know and love. The familiar concepts of classic role-playing are still intact, but many things have been retooled and updated. DDRPG emphasizes intuitive, consistent gameplay while remaining true to the old-school themes of perilous adventure, risk, and delving into the unknown. If you love the feel of the old-school Renaissance or the modern mechanics of 5e, you'll feel right at home with Dungeon Dwellers. DDRPG's goal is to take the best parts of our favorite fantasy RPG editions and blend them together to offer something unique in today's tabletop landscape. DDRPG keeps things fast and fun. You'll find 4 core classes: the fighter, cleric, rogue, and wizard. 4 core folk: human, proudfoot halfling, wood elf, and hill dwarf. 6 ability scores. Yes, it's our traditional. What the fuck is going on here tonight? This is weird. I went through all this stuff and it's like, what the hell is going on? It's like, jeez. Oh, I tell you, it's always something. It's always something. Wonder if it's the solid state drive again. That was kind of messing with us a while back when I replaced it. I'll find out. Anyway, we've got our 6 ability scores: strength, constitution, dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. D20 based resolution. The core of DDRPG uses a 20-sided die. Whenever a character attempts something with interesting success or failure, the D20 is rolled and modifiers added. Open skill system is based on ability checks. A character's background, folk, and class define what sorts of skills a PC is proficient in. There's a renovated spell system. Some spells have been revamped, improving utility and effectiveness. Spell points allow casters to alter spell effects, increasing damage, number of targets, and degree of effect. When hit points are exhausted, a creature is likely to die. When hit points are reduced below 0, the combatant has till the end of the round to be stabilized or they die. There are no death saves in DDRPG. DDRPG is compatible with almost any other RPG product. If you want to add something from a different system, it's easy to fold into this rule set. The Dungeon Dwellers role-playing game Player's Guide is your essential gateway to role-playing adventure. The volume includes rules for fast and easy character creation, as well as combat, spells and magic, and adventuring. The 202-page Dungeon Dwellers role-playing game Player's Guide is now available in PDF at DriveThruRPG for $10. So there is that. I gotta say, I thought this looked kind of interesting. On one hand, I'm like, I wonder what they've done. And then on the other hand, I'm kind of thinking, another mashup? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I might reach out to Reaper. I used to share coverage of Reaper miniatures and do some video early on of Reaper stuff, but it's been over a decade at least. Maybe I'll reach out, see what's up with this. Keithulu points out the art on that looks like Wayne Reynolds. I think Wayne Reynolds does the cover artwork on this. I think so, not positive. All righty then, that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I mentioned DriveThruRPG a few times. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, DriveThruRPG, Dungeon Masters Guild, Storyteller Vault, maybe Wargame Vault, any of those numerous One Bookshelf sites, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get 5% commission on most sales. Not everyone, but on most. And those commissions really do add up. Help keep thegaminggang.com around. Should also mention that we are now in the midst of one of the 2 best sales you see every year over on the One Bookshelf sites. And that is Christmas in July. So as of right now, there are thousands upon thousands of role-playing games and other things. Yeah, there's drive-through comics and fiction and stuff like that. But as far as the Christmas, or I should say it's Xmas in July sale, thousands upon thousands of PDFs, 30% off. There are some that are up to 75% off. Tell you one thing, I saw Pirate Borg. Pirate Borg right now during the sale, the core book is $5. If you don't have Pirate Borg and you are a game master who has any sort of self-respect, you really owe it to yourself to grab that PDF for 5 bones. Yowza. Crazy. So, also should point out, if you enjoy this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. And then, of course, if you enjoy the Gaming Gang, if you find the outlet to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you got a couple other ways you can support the outlet. First, by making a one-time donation by way of PayPal. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Ooh, it's got a fine smoky flavor today. Thanks, Canada. I know it's not the Canadians' fault. Yeah, we're getting hit. Thankfully, we're not getting a ton of smoke here out where I live. I was talking to Elliot earlier, and he's closer in to Chicago. And he's like, oh, man. It's like you thought it was fog out there. And, of course, there's that burning smell, too. Hey. Anyway, so you can make a one-time donation by way of PayPal. You can also become a monthly member of our Patreon. You can find all that information down in the show notes. Also down in the show notes, you'll find an invite link to our Discord server. Absolutely free to sign up. So be sure to hang with the gang over on Discord. All right, John Muscola is with us tonight. Danny Gable has popped on in to chat as well. I think I've said hello to everyone. Keith Lewis says, I have Starborg. Does that count? No, it doesn't. Actually, Starborg looks pretty cool. I have not had an opportunity to take a peek at it, but there's actually a good number of releases for it, I think. Maybe even more than Pirate Borg's got, and Pirate Borg has a few. So we were talking earlier about Impossible Magic for Pathfinder from Paizo Inc., and I had mentioned there was some news yesterday, and somebody out there is going to have to help me out with this because I always forget the website. The website that's out there that provides essentially all the Pathfinder info for free. Of course, it's a website. It's, it's not a PDF or anything like that you would download. I always forget it. Archives, yes, thank you. Zarkwan's bouncing in with it. Archives, I should say, of Nethys. I don't know how it's pronounced. Hey, Boomerman Dan Webb is also joining us in chat. So anyways, Paizo announced that their agreement with the archives is coming to an end, and they will no longer be receiving advanced copies of PDFs. And then they're also going to have to remove some of the artwork they've got. So people out there are like, seriously? So Ravenclaw's with us tonight. They said they need to stop giving stuff away for free. Yes. That's one of the things. So anyway, and as I share this with you, I am one of these guys who tries to be as transparent as possible. And I'm not accusing anyone of anything. But if you follow the Gaming Gang, I kind of keep my eyes out on the pirate sites and such to see what's floating around out there. And a lot of times, boom, yeah, Dan Webb says, we see right through you. I almost kept going with that transparency thing, and I'm like, no, okay, better not. Anyway, So a lot of times I will share news pieces of 4 items that I've seen have made their way into the wild, kind of as a way to, I don't think that I can, you know, make up for the losses that that company's going to have by way of the piracy, but try, right? Spread the word about something. So legitimate buyers out there would be like, oh, hey, that sounds kind of interesting, right? So anyway, I had noticed the latest Paizo releases were out in the wild, and reviewers hadn't gotten PDFs yet. Because normally what'll happen is I will have the PDFs put into an account for me, and then I share, I actually share all of it with Sammy. So Sammy effectively gets my PDFs for Pathfinder and Starfinder. And then I have physical items sent to me. So I was like, that's kind of weird. I was like, I wonder if when I saw that it was out they were out in the wild, including Impossible Magic, I thought, wow, that's kind of weird. Did Paizo put the PDFs in our accounts already for the reviewers? So I went and took a look, and the answer to that was no. So I reached out to my contact at Paizo, and I said, hey, because I've pointed this out to them before. I said, hey, not sure if you're aware of this or not, but your upcoming releases are out in the wild in PDF. And they emailed me back, and they were like, oh, hey, thanks so much. We're always sending out, takedown notices and stuff like that. And I had said, well, I'd be more concerned with how those files are getting out there, as opposed to, oh, damn you, website, take that file down, right? Because reviewers didn't get their copies yet, so can't blame any of the reviewers for leaking stuff out, because that does happen. So there wasn't that. So it was kind of like, all right, so who's got access to these PDFs? Like I said, I'm not accusing anybody of anything. But I did find it interesting that that announcement came out a couple of days later. And I guess that archive does get the PDFs ahead of everybody else. So I don't know. But once again, I have no clue. For all I know, it could be my contact at Paizo Inc. Don't know, but it's somebody. And right now, Paizo Inc. is battling financial issues. So you would think, as already pointed out by Ravenclaw and other people, maybe giving away your content for free isn't a great idea. Do you know what I mean? Jelly beans? So yeah, so there was that. So I just wanted to mention that to you. And like I said, I know where the pirates hang. I know what floats around out there. So like I said, I'll see stuff and it's like, oh, damn, man, let me get a news piece out there. Let me help this company out. Maybe get some legitimate buyers as opposed to pirates checking it out. And yes, I know the bullshit pirate story about how, oh, well, if I really like something, I'll go buy it. Bullshit. Like, give me a break. No, you don't. maybe if it's some core book for some popular thing, yeah, maybe then. But I downloaded 10,000 free PDFs. But I did buy the Dungeon Master's Guide. Okay. All righty. So yeah, so I just wanted to mention that I thought it was kind of unusual timing. But then again, once again, but then again, the minds at Paizo Inc. probably also decided, hey, you know what? We're giving all this stuff away. It's all going up on that archive. Yeah, granted. Okay, so it's an online resource and you're missing out on practically all of the artwork from the releases, but the information still gets posted up there. So maybe don't do that. What I would like to see Paizo Inc. do, I think we're kind of stuck with the cost of their hardcovers now, which I still think is a little pricey. And I get it, they got a union and all this other stuff. Yeah, okay. I would like to see them drop their PDF prices a little bit. Because when they do core book stuff, it could be like an $80 book, and then the core book PDF is like $14.99, which is awesome. Maybe it's $20. And then I have also seen where, they just did a book. In fact, I shared a review of it. It's Tales from the Vast for Starfinder. The actual hardcover is $44.99, and the PDF is $39.99. It's $5 less. And then I saw that they, it's like, it's on sale for like $27.99, something like that. But I would like to see them bring the PDFs down a little bit, especially if they're going to do because I thought my understanding was that with the archive, they're going to still publish stuff. They're still going to post the content. It's just they're not going to get it ahead of time. I might be wrong. This is not something I did any great deep dive on. So, Willona's Cave says, unfortunately, if the publisher doesn't submit their products to be considered for nomination, they won't get nominated. Oh, so they're talking about the Ennies and Pirate Borg lacking nominations. That was the Tabletop Scholar. Yes, Willona's Cave is correct. The Ennies committee does not go out looking for stuff. It's things that get submitted to them. That's why sometimes, I shouldn't say sometimes, all the time, there are nominees that you're kind of like, really? That's up for an award? Popularity has nothing to do with it. Zarquan says, yeah, Paizo recently raised prices on PDFs. I think the thing with AON was just waiting for the right moment, in their opinion. Yeah, I believe it. I believe that too. All right. Also want to point out, I always like to give a shout out to our Patreon members during the live shows. So congratulations to Ben Oldthwaite, Koval, Kevin R. Smith, Talzek, Peaceful Porcupine, William King, the Tabletop Scholar, Sean O'Donnell, Herman Lutman, Gustavo Cavalho, Kevin King, GameCat, RPG Munch, Tier 2 DM, Far Adrift, Pete Stracklich, Dan Webb, Tessie Trekkie, Agile Monk, The Madman, and Flint Fireforge. Tip of the cap to all of you gentlemen. Thank you very, very much. And on that note, we are going to discuss my Gen Con Survival Guide 2026 edition. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission. You know what? Did I change it? I don't think I changed it. Maybe I did. We'll find out. Let's roll the dice. Did Jeff change it? Or is it the same? No, you know what? Hang on. I changed other things tonight and they didn't stick. So, but I did change up from the last show. But we'll find out. We'll find out. Maybe this OBS Studios crapping out on me. Don't know. All right. Anyway, brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
Yes, there's an air about hot coffee that's hard to resist. Full-bodied, refreshing hot coffee makes any time a pleasant interlude. Won't you have some now?
By beech nut, by gum, by beech nut, by gum. The flavor starts lively, the flavor stays lively. By beech nut, by gum.
More flavor to chew, more flavors to choose. Like new Beech Nut Fruit Stripe Gum with 5 different flavors in every pack. Lime stripe, lemon stripe, orange stripe, mixed fruit and cherry stripe. And there's extra flavor in every colorful stripe. For flavor that starts lively, stays lively, buy Beech Nut, buy gum.
More flavor to chew, more flavors to choose. The flavor starts lively, the flavor stays lively. By gum, more flavor to chew, more flavors to choose. The flavor starts lively, the flavor stays lively. The flavor starts lively, the flavor stays lively. By beech nut, by gum, by beech nut, by gum.
Let's stop and make a pot of Wilkins coffee.
Keep going. I don't like coffee.
It happened that way, moving west.
Come on, darling.
Is the 7th planet a world with a 7th sense? Can they make things and people appear and disappear?
Who opened the airlock?
Have they new and terrifying powers of mind over matter?
His arms frozen.
Can they reach deep into your subconscious to make you feel terrors more horrifying than you know of?
Give us an hour. If we don't show up, you'll know you don't have to wait any longer.
You have come to destroy me. But my weapons are more powerful than yours. Your own fears have created the means of your destruction.
I went and saw Journey to the 7th Planet. It was so incredible. My ears popped. Your ears will pop. Okay. All right. So you're going to change the air pressure or something in the theater? What the hell's going on? Popping my ears. Yes, a classic, a classic. And yes, it turned out I did change the intermission. It wasn't the same one from Tuesday. So there is that. All right, so tonight's topic, I'm going to share my Gen Con survival guide. It is the 2026 edition. I'm going to share some tips to help those of you out there who maybe are attending Gen Con for the first time, or maybe it's been a while since you've attended Gen Con. Maybe go every year. Some tips so that you can have hopefully your best experience. First thing I'll point out, be prepared for about 70 to 80,000 people. Attendance is usually in that ballpark. I know sometimes it's like 65,000, what have you. Now, if you are not from a huge metropolis and you don't go to big conventions all the time, that number of people can be pretty intimidating. So I used to talk about how when we go to San Diego Comic-Con, it was almost always the week before Gen Con. And we would go out there and they get, what was the last count they had? I think it was 120,000, maybe it was 180,000. And then they also get all of these locals who come out to check out people in the costumes and all this other stuff. So you get to the point where you probably got 250,000 people all packed in around the gas lamp area of San Diego. It's crazy. So when we would go to Gen Con, you'd be like, wow, look at all the room we got. But for people who don't go to San Diego Comic-Con or other massive conventions, 70 to 80,000 people can really be very intimidating, and people can feel overwhelmed by that. Just keep your cool. I will point out that you will find that of all the attendees, you're going to have thousands upon thousands of people who won't even go into the exhibit hall. Or maybe they try to pop in there once. It's because they've got all these things scheduled. Also point out that the Lucas Oil Stadium, which is next door, they have a lot of events that take place over there. So people are kind of scattered out pretty nicely at the various different hotels that are nearby. Of course, there's the different exhibit hall. Well, I shouldn't say exhibit halls. Halls. I know they're exhibit halls, but they're not used as the exhibit hall. But the various different halls all have events going on. So you're normally not going to find yourself in a situation where you've got 20,000 people all piled on top of each other, except, and I wouldn't think it's 20,000, in the mornings just before the exhibit hall opens up. So the exhibit hall opens at 10, and on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, it's from 10 to 6. And then on Sunday, I believe it's 10 to 4. I think 4 o'clock is when Gen Con ends. That is a point where, people are kind of wedged in together. So if that's an issue for you, don't go anywhere near the exhibit hall until about 10:30. You pop in there 10:30, nothing. It's crowded. Don't get me wrong. The exhibit hall is going to be crowded almost all of the time, but you're not going to be packed in with other people. You're moving a couple of feet a minute. No, nothing like that at all. So if you get huge crowds kind of freak you out, stay away from the exhibit hall at about 10 a.m. or like I would say from like 9:15 to 10:15. Kind of avoid it. Dan Webb says, I've never been to Gen Con. Might want to go with a tour or guide. Would that be worth it? All right, let's put a pin in that. We'll come back to some of the questions that'll pop up. That is not something that I've ever kind of explored, to be honest. No, Dan, we'll come back to that. Okay, number 2. Dress comfortably. Now, granted, you're not walking miles and miles like when we go to San Diego Comic-Con, but you are going to do a lot of walking. Even if your schedule is just one game event, another game event, another game event, for the most part, a lot of times you have to move around between different halls or different hotels or different areas of a hotel in order to get to your next scheduled event. So dress comfortable. I also point out that it gets really hot in Indianapolis around the time of year that Gen Con is. So late July, early August, normally mid 80s, fairly high humidity because it's the Midwest. So if you're not used to that sort of weather, which, I mean, lately we've been kind of in a heat wave. A lot of the country has been. But here in the Chicago area, it has been in the 90s. In fact, yesterday it got up to 95. And then we've got fairly high humidity, so pretty damn miserable, I will say. So keep that in mind. Something else that goes along with the dress comfy is be sure to bathe. Now, this was a far larger issue back in the Milwaukee days of Gen Con. And I've talked about this before, that there was this one area that you had to walk through in the Milwaukee Convention Center that people would like to sleep in. Because there were people who'd go up to Gen Con and they wouldn't even have a hotel or a motel room. They would sleep in the park. So anyway, by Saturday morning, it was like the funk was so thick, and it'd be like, it was almost like a humidity. It was awful. You would practically try to run through in order to not be in this stretch of hallway for very long. It's not a massive problem anymore. But I will say, multiple times a day at Gen Con, I have found myself standing someplace and all of a sudden be like, oh, what the? So yeah, it is not completely wiped out. And the one thing that I would have to point out, yeah, and I get it, some people are heavy, some people perspire more than other people. Completely understand. But take precautions. If you perspire a lot, wear antiperspirant. Take some body talc. Yeah, do that. But yeah, there have been times where Ellie and I we're walking along through the exhibit hall and it's crowded, and all of a sudden it's like, we'll just look at each other like, what the hell is that? Jeez. Ravenclaw says they should kick out the stinkers. Well, they really can't. Because people would say, oh, well, I've got this genetic condition. So you're discriminating against me, so I'm going to sue you. I guarantee that's what we would see. I mentioned this a lot of times when we're talking about like Gen Con back in the day. I remember this was up in Milwaukee. Elliot and I were in line. We were picking up our badges, or, well, passes, I guess, because we weren't pressed back then. And I want to say it was Wednesday night. So we were up there, we were picking up our passes. We're in line, and these people are going up and down the line. They're handing out little bars of soap. I was like, sweet. I was like, nice. Zarquan says, I get funk from some people at Walmart. Yeah, there you go. Right. Agile Monk says you could do like the French and the old Romans and Greeks did and just keep putting on layers of perfume. Some Europeans still do that. I do understand that some places in Europe, deodorant is frowned upon. Like, oh, okay. All right. Hey, speaking of the heat and humidity, tip number 3. Keep some water and a snack or two handy. So if you're one of these people, you got a backpack, you got your backpack because you're going to throw your purchases in there, or maybe you've got some game stuff in there because you and your friends are going to play stuff. Toss in some water. Make sure you got a granola bar or something, because kind of becoming dehydrated or seeing like your sugar crash out happens way more than you would think. Now, there are areas, I think there's more than one in the convention center that's like a medical area. And it's actually off a relatively busy hallway and one of the major like thoroughfares of the convention. And they'll always have the door open as you walk by, and never fails. You take a peek in there and it's like just packed with people. And I'm sure a lot of times it's, people who just all of a sudden kind of feel like faint. And it's like, oh, or maybe they do faint. And the thing is, there's water fountains around, but probably when you need one, you won't have one nearby. Something else I should point out as far as having a snack or something, the food in the convention center it's not horrible. I've had worse food at conventions, but I'll also point out it's not great either. We'll get into food in another tip coming up, but that's another reason why you should have a snack or something to tide you over, even if it's a bag of chips. Get a little sodium in you. Because, for one, it's very pricey and not very hot. I mean, in more ways than one. I'll give you a great example. I think like the hot pretzel is like $9, and it's a pretzel essentially in name only, because I don't think they make pretzels out of plaster. But save yourself a few bucks. That you can use that money to, buy more game stuff. Because if you have like a burger and a Coke and maybe some fries, you're looking at like easily 20, 25 bucks. Which if you're in a restaurant, that's one thing. At a concession stand, and you're not at the ballpark, right? Where it's like, hey, this ballpark's got really good food. No. Keith Ulu said they cut their finger. They had to go get bandaged at the medical area. Very nice. Very cool. Yes. And Hissio points out, make sure you buy your snacks off site, which I was just talking about. So yes, we are right on the same wavelength there. So what are we on? Tip number 4? Tip number 4, know your schedule, know your group's schedule, and have a plan where you can meet up if people get lost. Once again, you've got all of these people all packed in to this small area of downtown Indianapolis. It is relatively easy to get turned around and not be sure exactly where you may be in relation to the other people in your group. Yeah, I get it. It's a lot easier now where you just call somebody up and go, oh, hey, where are you at? But the thing is, if you're not sure where you're at, all I'm trying to say is as long as you know exactly what your schedule is, what their schedules are, have a plan. Hey, you know what? We're going to meet up here at 6 over by XYZ. Oh, you know that big statue of the dragon over there? We'll meet over there at 6:30. Because you're just going to save time. You're just going to save hassle. So I'm not saying that it's like, oh, people got, separated and that you're never going to find each other. Of course you will. But you'll probably have some frustration, probably take more time than if you already have a plan that is set and in place. Keith Lewis said, I made the mistake of not bringing snacks. I got there early on Thursday, was rushing around, didn't eat till nearly 1. I guess, was it nearly 1 a.m.? I have run into people who are like that. I mean, there's times that, like, for an example, I really don't eat breakfast. Elliot is a breakfast guy. In fact, one of the criteria normally for a hotel or motel for us to stay there is they got to have more than just a continental breakfast. Right, they got to offer like a hot breakfast. Me, I just don't. So what'll normally happen is I don't have breakfast because I do intermittent fasting. Yeah, I wish it was more successful, but that's what I do. Right. So anyway, so I'll have like coffee. I might have a juice, and then he'll have whatever, like eggs and sausage or pancakes or waffles or whatever they've got, right? So come 1 o'clock, I'm sort of like, yeah, I'm feeling kind of peckish here, man. And he'll be like, no, I'm good. No, I think I better go get some lunch. So Hisio points out, pick a less visited area for the meetup, not just outside the dealer's hall. Yeah, or don't be like, oh yeah, we'll go, we'll meet up where the band plays. They'll have different bands playing, and it's usually like a fairly good sized crowd packed around there. Hisio asks, will we ever see Elliot on the show? Elliot has popped in to chat on occasion. It is rare. It is rare that Elliot will pop in, hang out live. I could have swore we did a live stream and he was like my guest interview. You do 1,300 plus live streams. You gotta forget. Did I do that show, or is that just a figment of my imagination? Probably not, to be honest. Because when I do the stream, he's as far as I understand, he's usually like playing online games with his wife and his daughter. So that's what they like to do at night. Elliot usually catches the show after the fact, like in the mornings when he's working. So there is that. So probably not, but you will see him in pictures that pop up from conventions or like convention coverage. I've been kicking around, maybe this year we do like a little recap each day, but like maybe 10 minutes. The only thing there is I don't want to have to like set up everything with the camera and that in the room. So I don't know. We might look at doing something. Because Elliot is still considered part of the gang. He is one of the founding members. It was he and I who put this all together. So although we weren't really, well, I guess we did start doing some video prior to him leaving. The Madman says they can confirm Elliot is real. That's right, because the Madman came and had a bite to eat and a couple of adult beverages with us. So there is that. And Sean O'Donnell, who used to hang out and chat all the time. We haven't really seen him too often lately, but he still follows the show. He is gamed with Elliot, my brother, and I. So he can confirm that, yes, my brother and Elliot are both real people. So, all right, on to our next tip. Tip number 5. Leave yourself plenty of time for things other than gaming. Can't tell you how many times I have seen people like racing around like in a fucking panic because they got to get to some game session that they've got a ticket for. And I understand it, right? It's the ticket to go play a game isn't $2 anymore. In fact, I was kind of surprised by some of the event ticket pricing. Yeah, sure. There was stuff that was like $4, $6. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's cool. But then there were other things that were like, oh, it's a 3-hour game session, $12 a person. It's like, what? Seriously? Like, So I get it. But the thing is, I very rarely am in any like ticketed events at conventions. I don't tend to have really good luck with them. And that's going to be another tip coming up. But I'll see people who are like just about ready to lose it because they're like, oh yeah, I only got 5 minutes, and they've got like a half a mile that they've got to go. And it's like, okay. Other thing too is a lot of times I'll see people who they have so much stuff scheduled. They've got so many events that they've bought tickets for that the only real dining that they have time for is either the concession stand stuff in the convention center or from the food trucks that are either parked across the street from one of the entrances or that are in this one parking lot that's between the convention center and Lucas Oil Stadium. And I'm not trying to knock food trucks or anything like that. But gamers aren't like the healthiest diners in the first place. So when you're just running out to go scarf down some beef noodles or something like that, are you really enjoying yourself? I mean, some people might be like, yeah, that's great, man. I don't care. I'm not there to dine. I'm there to play. And there are people like that. Be like, I'm just here to game, man. And we don't sleep for 72 hours because we're gaming all day, all night, all morning, all. It's like, okay. But for most people, you go on a trip, you go to a convention, it's probably considered a vacation for the vast majority of people. I consider it a vacation, even though I kind of do work at them. But I like to relax on vacation. I don't want to be sitting there like running around losing my mind. That's why we cut way back on the number of interviews that we do. I walk up to go interview somebody and they're like, they have no idea who I am. And I'm like, well, so-and-so scheduled this. And they're like, I'm like, all right, no problem. See ya. It's like, you're not doing me the favor, okay? I'm like, whatever. I had situations where, like it's a creator that I'm supposed to interview and the marketing person set it up and they really haven't explained anything to that creator. And I'm like, yeah, we've got a 1:30 here. And, what we'll do is I'm just going to ask some questions about this, that, whatever. And so, I've had situations where they kind of gave me a look like, I just don't understand why we're doing this. And I'll be like, yeah, hey, no problem. Hey, see you later. Years ago, I've been like, oh, well, you got to. So I said to Elliot, I highly doubt we'll have more than like a dozen interviews. Maybe do like 4, 1, because we're normally not there Sunday. Or if we do go on Sunday, we're only there for maybe an hour or two, and we're out of there by noon. So what I figure is we'll probably have 4 interviews on one day, and then the other 2 days, 3 interviews, and that's pretty much it. Unless I run into somebody who I'm really interested in talking to, like, say, like Kelsey Dion. I should reach out. I should shoot her an email because I'm still ticked about the interview that I did with her at the Philadelphia area gaming expo. And my portion of the first day's interviews weren't streamed. So they were recorded. And I had asked multiple times to get the file and no one ever gave it to me. So I kind of look like an idiot because I interviewed Kelsey, and it was a good interview. We had fun. We were laughing, kidding around. And it's like, yeah. So much for that. There were like 4 interviews I did that are all, nobody could be bothered over at Paige. So I can't be bothered either about Paige. Anyway. So as far as this tip, getting back to the topic, leave some time to relax. You don't need to schedule every single moment when you're there. And when you leave openings in time, be sure you leave enough time. The whole, well, we'll give ourselves an hour for lunch doesn't really cut it that well. Especially if you're going to like walk a little ways away from the convention center. You just aren't going to have time. Max Apocalypse is with me and the gang tonight. Welcome. Flint Fireforge points out they can second that Elliot does exist. It's 2 L's, 2 T's, just so everybody knows. That he is a real person because he ran into us with his wife and daughter in the Philadelphia airport. Keith Little also points out, most people who go to Gen Con aren't exactly Roger Bannister at covering long distances in short times. Yeah, I was going to say that. Hey, even myself, and I'm in halfway decent old man shape. I don't and I walk fast. I've slowed down my pace as I've gotten older, but I still walk relatively fast. I don't want to be racing to get to something. That's why we schedule our interviews like on the hour, because worst case scenario, we still have time to get over to we're not going to interview somebody for an hour. But Flint Fireford says, yeah, too bad about Paige. The quality was pretty bad across the board with the streaming. Yeah, I know. It did no one any favors. I will definitely say that. Dan Webb asks, are there enough interesting open events that don't require ticket purchases? I don't know. Now, you can get generic tickets. They're $2. Almost every year we go, and Elliot's always like, should we get some generics? I'm like, nah. It's like, nah, it's no big deal. So you can use generics to sit down at an event that has open seats. There are seminars and shows and stuff like that at Gen Con. Those do require tickets as far as I understand. There is open gaming. I mean, that's what we tend to do, is we'll do the open gaming. We might meet up with people and play some stuff, or we might go, a lot of times we're talking to a company and they're like, hey, well, you should go over to, this one hall. I think it's Hall D, or is that it might be the exhibit area is Hall D. Anyway, Hall C, something like that. So it's a big hall, and it's all these tables set up for gaming, and you'll have different publishers who have little sections. We might go do that. And that doesn't cost us anything. It's, you're demoing a game and so forth. But I would say if I compared it to San Diego Comic-Con, no. There's way more stuff. I tell people all the time, if you're in San Diego and Comic-Con's going on, go down to the gas lamp, go hang around, because there's all these, they call them installations. They've got all these things going on. Don't even need a badge. So it's absolutely free. Gen Con, maybe not so much. So I got to be honest, I don't know enough about the events to really give you a good answer on that. Captain Infinity, Time Travel Police has been hanging with us for a while. So someone should open a deodorant booth. We've discussed that. Not necessarily a deodorant booth. And it has gotten better over the years, but yes, multiple times a day, you'll be standing there and be like, oh, the hell is that? All right. So tip number 6. Yeah, I think we're on tip 6. Expect the unexpected. Roll with the punches. If you cannot deal with events getting canceled last minute, walking up to a table where something's supposed to be going on, and it's like nothing's set up, nobody's there. It happens. Events get canceled. People get sick. People don't show up. People have problems with their transportation getting to the convention. Be prepared for things to go wrong. And if you already have the mindset that everything is not going to be pulled off without a hitch, you will be in far better mental shape by the end of the convention. Once again, I see people all the time just losing their fucking minds over the stupidest stuff. Now, that's not to say that that's all you see all day long with people. I'm just saying, at least once a day, I'll run across somebody. They're usually outside of the convention center, carrying on with somebody else about, oh my gosh, what a terrible situation they're in. Because, a game session got canceled, or they were going to take part in this tournament and the tournament's been canceled. It's like, okay, whatever. It's fine. Find something else to do. You also will find that you might sit down for an event and it's supposed to have, let's say, you're playing maybe a game of 5e, right? And it's scheduled for 4 hours and it's 8 players, and you sit down with your family member or friend or whatever because you've got tickets, and it's you and the DM. That happens too, where you have events that didn't fill. It's kind of like, oh, well, yeah, I was expecting a big table full of people here playing, and okay, it's just us. That's fine. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Just, enjoy yourself for the 3-4 hours, whatever the 2 hours. You'll get through it. You'll survive. I hope. You'll survive. Max Apocalypse says, con chaos is part of the fun. Dan Webb says, I've been married almost 40 years. A few cancellations won't bother me. Man says, I mistakenly signed up for the wrong event, but they added me in to an already full table. 23rd Century Productions were really accommodating. If I remember right, that may have been the Gen Con that you met up with Elliot and I for dinner. I think I remember you talking about signing up for the wrong thing. All right, next. It would be tip number 7. Avoid the con crud. Max Apocalypse says con chaos is fun. Con crud is not. So if you don't know what con crud is, people who are exhibitors tend to experience this a lot more than attendees, although attendees also get sick. So con crud usually hits you after you've gone home. And I tend to have, it's almost every year, I'll come home and I'll end up with kind of a cold, mainly in my sinuses. There have been a couple of times where I got really bad con crud, and it was like I felt like I had a sinus infection for about a week, and I was pretty miserable. So what I have learned is I do not shake hands at conventions. I'll do a fist bump. I'll fist bump somebody, and I'll tell them right out. I'll be like, hey, I'm avoiding con crud. And they're like, oh, yeah. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay, sure. I mean, I'll have other people go, hey, we don't even have to do that if you don't want. I'm like, no, that's fine. So getting sick can come with the experience. Usually you won't get sick while you're at the show. It might come up like the last day or the day after you get home or whatever. But usually con crud doesn't hit you like it starts on Thursday and you're sick on Thursday. No, that usually does not happen. So my recommendation, don't shake people's hands, but let them know. Say, hey, you know what? I'm avoiding con crud. I don't want to go home with con crud. I don't want to pass shit on to other people. Like, my dad turns 90 years old this month. I don't need to be bringing something back home to give to him, because something that I can eventually shake off could put him in the hospital. So carry sanitizer. You got that water, you got the snack in your backpack, your bag, purse, what have you. Put a little bit of hand sanitizer in there, and every once in a while, use some of that hand sanitizer. Try not to open doors with the palm of your hand. Something else that we try to do, like if the door is closing, I always shove my foot to stop it, and then like take my elbow or shoulder to open it up, or I will touch an area of the door that's not like the handle to avoid that. Max Apocalypse says, oh, there's a lot of con CXXX. That isn't fun. Wondering if that word is what I think it might be. Shazama is popping on in, says, just getting back from an Italian dinner with one of their former players who moved away and is visiting, and another of their local players joined them. Very nice. Flynn Fireforge says, load up on Airborne. Flynn Fireforge is also a big investor in Airborne, in that pharmaceutical company that owns it. The Man says they've somehow managed to avoid con crud through multiple cons. Now they've jinxed themselves. Dan Webb said, telling my wife I got con crud when I get back from a first-time con. It happens. I mean, it really does. I can't tell you how many people in the industry I've known over the years who, work for publishers, and they're usually their marketing person. So they have to press the flesh a lot. Almost every convention, they come back and they have some form of con crud. So, so Max Apocalypse says that CXXX is just other words that begin with C in general. Ravenclaw says they went to an Amazon convention in Vegas years ago for work. Had to go to the ER when they got home. Yeah. All right. On to tip number 8. Everyone is at the convention to have a good time. You're there to have a good time. Your friends are there. Your family's there. They're all there to have a good time. Everybody at Gen Con and any other convention are there to have fun. They're there to enjoy themselves. They're not spending the sort of money they're spending to go to the convention to make other people's lives miserable. But it happens. Don't be that guy. Don't be that gal. You're there to have a good time. Keep in mind, you also want everyone you encounter who deals with you in any sort of way to enjoy that encounter with you, to enjoy that interaction with you. Everybody has bad days. Everybody has things that go wrong. Sometimes something goes wrong at a convention and it's just suddenly it's as if the first domino has fallen. And it's just then this, then this, then that, then this. And it just gets worse. Don't take it out on other people. Because they don't know your situation. So you might be having a terrible day. You may have lost your backpack that's got the 2 new games you just bought. So now you're pissed. The average person who bumps into you doesn't know that. Don't take it out on them. Something else. And this mainly goes for men out there. I'm not leaving women out of this, but it's the vast majority of this goes on with men. You see someone and they're attractive and they're in a cosplay costume that is maybe a little revealing, and you're like, yeah, that's nice. Great. Well, enjoy it with your eyes. Keep your mouth shut. Don't do anything else. Women and men dress in provocative cosplay costumes or costumes in general for a lot of different reasons. One of them isn't to meet you. I can't tell you how creepy it is to be standing there and have somebody with a camera come up and be like, oh, can I take a photo of your costume? It's one thing if you work for an outlet or, some sort of publication or something like that. Yeah, of course. But I see way too many people who are like, oh, yeah, can I take a picture? And they got like their phone, And it's like, damn well, they're just grabbing that for their spank bank. It's fucking creepy. Once again, don't be that guy or girl. Hissio also points out, try not to be hyper competitive in an event. It's not all about you. Yeah, that is kind of an issue as well, where what goes on in your home or, with your group, wherever you play, may not necessarily be exactly Jake with everyone else. So if, screeching like a monkey fucking a football is funny at your game table, that's one thing. Doing it in public with a bunch of people around you, pretty fucking irritating. So, and yes, we have way too many people in this world now who are just so focused on themselves. And they are not aware of anything outside of, it's like the number of people with Asperger's now has just like rocketed. Crazy. But yes, don't, you're there. Everybody's having fun. It's, you're playing games. If it's a contest, a tournament, whatever, do your best. If and when you lose, congratulate the victor and just, let it go. Move on to your next thing. All right. Tip number 9. Don't be afraid to explore. So, depending on where you're from, you might find downtown Indianapolis to be kind of rough. Oh my gosh, they've got homeless people on every corner. Yeah, because word gets out that there's 80,000 people down there. So yes, every corner suddenly is occupied by someone who's homeless, or more than one, or at least they're claiming to be homeless, looking for a handout. That doesn't necessarily mean you're like in the ghetto. I mean, come on. If you want to have good food and not pay, well, so I will say from my experience, including last year, the restaurants around Indy don't tend to gouge attendees by jacking the prices up. Like San Diego Comic-Con, it is insanity. For one, you're already in California. It's going to be pricier. And then it's Comic-Con. Talked about it before. Had just a little old burger, some fries, and a pint of beer, and it was over $40. It was like, what the hell? So Indianapolis isn't that bad. I'm sure some of the places do raise their prices. But there are a lot of really good restaurants that are 3-4 blocks away. There's a bar that Elliot and I go to. It's a bar restaurant. We'll go to at least once every Gen Con. I don't recall the name of it. It's an Irish pub. And Elliot is a fan of fish and chips. I like fish and chips too. And their fish and chips is pretty good. So we always go over there one night for dinner. And it's probably a 5-6 block walk. I mean, it's not terrible. But having grown up in Chicago, having been to many, many urban areas and things like that, Indianapolis is, to me, downtown is kind of like dead. It's not like, oh my gosh, my life is in danger. So right around the convention center, there's a few places to eat, but you're looking at like Steak and Shake. There are a couple of steak places that, of course, you're looking at steak place pricing, which, I don't know if you're cool with that or not. I mean, if I were going out for a celebration of something, yeah. If I'm going out just grab some dinner at a convention, probably not going to like Ruth Chris. Although Ruth Chris isn't really that great a steakhouse anymore. Anyway, there's like 3 pretty good looking steak places down in that area. There's a mall that's got a food court, which is, from my experience, awful. I've tried food from like 3 different places over the years, and every time it's been super disappointing. And again, what do you want? It's a food court in a mall. You've got Dick's Last Resort, which we'll usually go eat there once. And it's kind of funny because it's the place that we always joke around about. Tom Vassell will not step into the door because of the name of the place. And it's like, it's Dick, it's Richard, Dick's Last Resort. But regardless, we'll go there once. Their shtick is they like, rag on you and give you a hard time. So we'll normally pop in there. Sometimes we just grab a couple of beers, don't eat. We'll go someplace else. But try to explore a little bit. We went to a restaurant bar that was actually up these stairs, and it was like, oh my gosh, I would hate to be like hammered trying to make my way down these stairs because it's like death, right? That's whoops. But we walked over there. It was probably a mile away, and they had the prices were really reasonable, and we each had, I think we had Reubens with fries, and it was excellent, really, really good. So, like I said, don't just stay within like this little tiny area around the convention center. Go and kind of explore a little bit. Now, some areas have far less than others. So if you're, if you start going, I'm trying to figure out what direction it would be. I believe it would be north. Yeah, if you go north, there's not much. It's more residential. If you go west, there's one bar that we go to all the time that's kind of a hole in the wall place that, they don't usually get gamers into. And we've had a blast over there. I think it's called a Whistle Stop, if I remember correctly. And then there's also a White Castle. And that's kind of it. There's sort of an Arby's off that way. But for the most part, if you go south or you go east, you will run into stuff like Bippo de Beppo. There's one of those over there. I'm not necessarily a fan, but I don't care for their marinara. So, but there's that. There's Panera Bread. I mean, there's a lot of places. There used to be a place that during Gen Con, it used to be packed, and it had like a patio area, and they had a bar restaurant. It was actually nice, but not like, oh man, this is too fancy. We're in shorts and t-shirts. I don't wear t-shirts at cons, but you know what I mean? Where it's like, I feel underdressed. No, it was nothing like that. But it wasn't like some, shithole, like some dive bar or anything like that. And they used to do like trivia. They used to do gamer trivia at night. And there'd be like a few hundred people. COVID killed it. It's gone. So Hiseo says the Brazilian themed steakhouses are good. Dan Webb says Ruth Chris Steakhouse not good. It's a good one now. No, I'm not necessarily saying it's not good. I don't think it's as upscale as it once was. Like going to Ruth Chris was kind of a big deal back in the day. It was like, hey, if you're going to dinner at Ruth Chris, you better be wearing a tie. Plus, I got a couple of friends who ate at a Ruth Chris, not necessarily the one in Indianapolis, and they told me that they were super disappointed in the quality of the meat. Anyway, all right. So, tip number 9, explore. Don't be afraid to explore. But then again, if you start getting into an area that feels a little iffy, start heading back. Mammoth says, I felt perfectly comfortable walking from the convention center the 3 miles to their hotel. Yeah. But like I said, it depends on where you're from. Yeah, you know, if you live on a farm and your closest neighbor is 2 miles away, and it's like an hour and a half to get over to the local Walmart, you might be a little concerned. You might be like, oh, there's too many people here. Okay. So here's my final tip before I move on to my bonus tips. Always be aware of your surroundings. At all times, you must be aware of your surroundings. And I don't necessarily mean it like, okay, you know, you're got to keep your eyes peeled because, you know, somebody could, you know, steal your wallet or snatch your purse or something like that. Of course, you should always be doing that anyway. In fact, if you're a guy, you should be carrying your wallet in your front pocket. But the reason why I mention this is because things can happen in an instant. And I'll explain. So a few years ago, I'm covering Gen Con by myself. Elliot couldn't make it. And like my brother couldn't go. And I want to say, I think my nephew Cameron was probably too young for me to bother, you know, see if he wanted to go with. So I'm walking over to do an interview with AEG. So I believe it's an interview. It ends up turning out to be kind of like a group presentation of the new stuff that was coming out from them. So anyway, they were at a hotel that was about 4 blocks away. And it was Sunday. I was going to do that, and then I was going to rock out. So I'm walking along, and, you know, I'm one of these people, I pay attention. I don't wear earbuds or anything like that when I'm in a city walking around. All these people got their faces in their phones and stuff like that. So it's Sunday. There's a Colts preseason game that's getting ready to start. And I'm standing at this corner to cross over because the next block is where this hotel is. And the light changes, traffic starts going, and this guy comes flying through the red light, doing about 50. Hits this car, and the two of them start heading directly for me. And I see all of this unfold because, you know, I got my head up, got my eyes peeled. I'm like, shit. So I move as quickly as I can, which I'm sure isn't very quick, to get the hell out because they're coming right at me. And there's debris from the vehicles flying at me. So I kind of get as far as I can, and I kind of throw my arm up like this to kind of protect my face. And I feel like stuff like hit me. And one of the cars ended up in the corner of the building that was there. And the other car took out, I think it was a traffic light control box that was there. And like a newspaper box or something like that. And I was like, holy shit. Because if I had been like most people and had my head down, or I was listening to music, I probably would have gotten killed. So, and it's, it just happened like that. I figure probably the guy who just blasted through the, because they were trying to turn. They were trying to turn to go down towards the stadium. I assume the guy who blew the red light was probably had a ticket to the game or something. They were running late. Damn. So that's why I'm talking about being aware of your surroundings at all times. Not necessarily to avoid people like, trying to stick you up or steal your purse or anything, just because things happen. Things fall out of windows, right? Things fall over. It happens. So, that is my final tip. Always be aware what's going on around you. Okay. I got a bonus tip I'll share in just a moment. Madman says, I'm sure the other veterans that participate in chat are as hyper aware of our surroundings as they are. I'm always checking out everything that's going on around me. Hissio says they're more vigilant when they're with their wife or kids. Flint Fireforge says, I think it's more of a Gen X habit. I'm also hyper aware when out and about. These morons across the street looking at their phone don't understand how dangerous it can be. Oh, I know. Oh, absolutely. And then the best is when somebody's like walking across the street and they're looking at their phone and the light has changed and you're sitting there and they're like fucking dicking around. Then they give you a dirty look like seriously? I ought to run you over. Yeah, he died with this dirty look on his face. I don't understand what it was for. I don't know. We've talked about this before, that it just seems to be that many, many people, it's not just young people, but many, many people only seem to be aware of like 3 inches around themselves, and that's it. That's all that matters to them is this tiny little bubble. Goofy. Man, we're going to have some really fucking lonely people in about 30 years. Telling you. Flint Fireford says, I've seen too many people blow lights to have faith in the traffic signal. When I'm driving and the light changes, I wait a beat. I'm not like, oh, yeah. No, not at all. All right. So I've got a bonus tip for you. Unfortunately, you can't use this for this year's Gen Con, but keep this in mind for future Gen Cons. When you get your passes, you have an opportunity to use the housing portal, which, it's funny. First time I heard of the housing portal, and this is a long time ago, it was like, are they putting us up in dorms or something? What the hell is this? Right? It's like, huh? Because, that's original Gen Con, first few years up in Wisconsin. Yeah, you could, stay in a dorm room. Anyway, the person buying the badges ends up with access to the housing portal, and the time is random. And I've said time and time again that if you don't have, like, the housing portal opens at 12 o'clock on Sunday, April, whatever. If you don't have a spot within the first hour and a half, don't bother. So here's my recommendation, because I know a lot of people talk about, hotels and stuff. Man, it's impossible to get a room, and the rooms are just an absolute ripoff. And yes, that is something that they do jack the price up on for Gen Con are the hotel rooms. So this is what I recommend. Prior to the housing portal opening up, so like the week before, go on to booking.com or any other hotel website that you are able to book a room and not have to pay a deposit up front. Check around what they've got in the area. You might luck out. You might find like a motel that doesn't jack up the price 50, 100% because of the convention being there. Don't be afraid to stay away from downtown. Because I'll tell you what I've done in the past. I did this when I was covering the show by myself, the year I almost got killed. And now actually it wasn't. I think it was a year after that. My brother came for a couple of days. Anyway, I was staying about 15, 20 minutes away, and I just Lyft, Uber, whatever. I just, ride shared in there because I figured one way was going to be my price of parking anyway. So I recommend go book a room, maybe not necessarily downtown, but not far away, maybe within 15 minutes or so. And then still go and check out the housing portal because some of the hotels supposedly give you, the group rate. That's supposed to be the deal that you get because of being part of the housing portal. And that is probably the case with hotels that are also booking rooms through their own websites or through like booking.com and stuff like hotels.com, stuff like that. Now, the reason why I talk about this is it's not common knowledge, but it's actually common sense. But a lot of people don't realize this. When attendees have an opportunity to book with the housing portal, when it opens up at noon on whatever Sunday, all the exhibitors have already gone in there and booked all their rooms on the housing portal. So even if you got like the first 10 minutes, you are probably not going to find any rooms with 2 queen-size beds. It's all going to be kings. So I'll give you a great example. 2 years ago, we got the, because being the press, Elliot has his pass, I've got my pass, so we actually get 2 different times. And Elliot had, I think it was like 12:30. It was like, holy cow. So he essentially could have booked any place. But nobody had 2 beds. Everything was king-size bed, 1 king-size bed. So I was like, what the hell is going on? So I even called up and I talked to the person at Gen Con who handles the housing portal. And they had told me, because first I called one of the hotels and they said they couldn't find out anything because they were all blocked off already. So I talked to this person who was, and I was amazed. I was talking to this person on Sunday. And she had said that all of the exhibitors, and every year there's more and more exhibitors, had first shot at the rooms a week prior. I was like, So, it was kind of funny. We could have stayed at the Crown Plaza across the street, which is pretty nice, super convenient. It's directly across the street. But it was like, man, they only got a king? I don't want to be spending like $800-900 on my portion of the room and sharing a bed. So we ended up booking at, what was it? Spring Hill Suites or something like that. And when we checked in, I asked if they had a room with 2 beds, and we lucked out. But yes, what I would recommend you do for the future with Gen Con, the week before that housing portal opens up, go online, take a look around at the rooms. Most of the places downtown are not going to be available because they're already blocked out. Some might. You're also looking at rooms that are going to be like, $1,500 a night. But take a peek around. You can probably stay relatively close by, not have to pay an arm and a leg. And you can make sure that you are booking, 2 rooms and, a roll away, whatever you need. Not 2 rooms, 2 beds, I should say, and a roll away, whatever you need, right? Because if you wait for the housing portal and you're not going by yourself, you're going to find all that's left. If you even get an opportunity to sniff a good hotel room, a downtown hotel room, I shouldn't say good, just downtown hotel room, you may not even have an opportunity to sniff one of those rooms anyway. So there you go. That is my bonus tip for next year as far as Gen Con goes. All right, let's wrap up with chat. Flint Fireford says, the internet is great for things like the dispatch, but I'm so glad I grew up before the internet. The lack of connection in the 80s and 90s was a blessing I can fall back on. Completely agree. Because I will notice things as I'm out someplace that, like, my nephew, Cameron, will not. I'll be like, oh, did you see blah, blah, blah? And he's like, huh? I'm like, yeah, over there, look. Oh, and he's looking the same way I am. Flint Fireford says, my friend would pick me up each day for high school, and if he didn't show up, he didn't show up. No texting, calling. We just got to figure it out. That's right. You're supposed to go hang out with your friends. It's Friday nights. You're wherever you're supposed to meet up. Nobody's there. Your only option was to call their house. And if nobody answered or their parents answered and said, well, no, they're not here. Well, you had a couple options. You could hang around, see if they showed up, or it could be like, well, fuck this. I'm going to do something else. All righty then. So that is it for this time out. Next week, we'll have our regular schedule of shows. So we'll do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I think on Tuesday, we're going to do another, what did I call it before? Turn Back the Clock Tuesday. And we're either going to talk about Bushido from Fantasy Games Unlimited or the James Bond role-playing game from Victory Games from back in the day. Yes. Should also mention our winner of the contest for the PDF of the Star Trek Adventures 2nd Edition core rulebook is Maddie C. So you are the winner. By all means, shoot me an email at jeffmcaleer@thegaminggang.com. And I will set you up with your PDF copy of the core rulebook. Very nice. Yes. So that's it for this time out. If you're watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, tip of the cap for you. Because not only are you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company as I'm sharing the news or carrying on about a topic. But of course, I know a lot of folks out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. I really do appreciate you taking time out to watch any of the videos here on the channel. And of course, when you're not watching videos here on the channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are never going to see here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Enjoy the rest of the week. Have a great weekend. I will be back once again, fingers crossed, on Tuesday, knock on wood. And of course, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. And if you ring the bell, select all notifications, because it'll not only let you know, damn, got a little frog in my throat there. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central Time right here on YouTube. It'll also tell you when I share other videos, such as this weekend's reviews of the Invincible role-playing game from Free League Publishing and Skybound Entertainment. I will have my review of the core rulebook, but I am going to kick off the reviews with the starter set. So I will have both of those reviewed for you this weekend. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for taking time to join me this evening. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. And as I always like to say, I certainly hope each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.